white-haired girl. Technically, you've been with many men, you know? But I guess this is in the past, so I don't know. And also, she loses her memories every time, so, you know. How does that work, by the way? If someone, like, has lived many lifetimes, does it count as cheating? I don't know. Well, his was a power that evoked images of witches or demons, the unclean and the impure. A mere touch was all it took for him to strip man and beast alike of his life. God has quite a cruel streak to bestow such a power upon such a beautiful young man. And a strange power it was indeed, like something of a fairy tale. Like something confined to words upon the page, it seemed otherworldly, unbelievable. Nonetheless, as he had demonstrated to the white-haired girl, his peculiar powers were indeed real. That said, the world has its fair share of oddities. It just so happens that those curiosities tend to remain hidden away, known only to a few. Although you have laid eyes upon a number of unusual phenomena yourself, Master, the doors of the past through which we have passed, this very mansion, and as a matter of fact the two of us. Now, as you just saw, the white-haired girl found herself enraptured with this man and his accursed power. How do you think Michelle acted in response to her proclamation? He has spent so long refusing to interact with others, no, unable to interact with them. As such, he was unsure how to respond. After standing there expressionless for a few moments, he muttered, "I'll consider it. I'll consider it." But with that, he returned to his chambers. And while he was not someone who wore his heart on his sleeve, I personally do not believe he was completely devoid of emotions. He had simply forgotten how to express them in his extended solitude. You see, he was a kudere, you know how they there's tsunderes, yanderes, danderes. He's a kudere, I think. Or is there another word for that? I don't know. But the type of stereotypical anime personality, usually an anime girl who is emotionless, and that's their charm point, I guess. It's charming that they have no emotions, but eventually when they interact with their love interest, I guess they start to open up, is the idea. But so I think he was in that moment in a state of complete panic. Yeah, she had, after all, just assaulted him with a stream of incomprehensible declarations. But knowing the truth, she still wished to remain in the mansion. And that, knowing the truth, she loved him. The love she had declared for Michelle was not a fleeting puppy love. I don't know, I always see it as puppy love every time in any of these love stories, but the fleeting puppy love, there's a genuine tenderness and warmth to her words. But he had gone through his life shunned, feared, and pushed away. To him, that was normal. He had never given anyone reason to have any fondness for him, so he found himself utterly unsure on how to take the affection she was showing. Of course, he was not the only one rattled by the whole affair. Oh dear. Several days had passed since Michelle had asked for time to think. He had still yet to show himself again. This is all my fault. The white-haired girl paced anxiously through the halls on the off chance she might run into him. As per his request though, she kept her distance from his chambers. Nevertheless, she was beginning to worry about the fact that he had secluded himself away for so long. So she worked up her courage and made her way to his room. What if he doesn't want to see me ever again? I didn't consider I might be overstepping my bounds before opening my mouth. Every step she took was slow and laborious, her mind raced with worry and doubt. I should at least tell him I'm sorry. Rather than out of a desire to know how he felt, she was compelled by guilt and a desire to apologize. After walking for some time, she arrived at the door sitting in an utterly unlit hallway. She drew in a breath of musty air, then let it out, repeating the process several times. Next, she reached her hand up to knock on the door, then pulled it back, also doing this a number of times. Okay. Oh, how adorable she was. I wanted nothing more than to give her a little nudge. After all, she was too sweet a girl for her words to be anything but misplaced. Where are you, by the way, maid? Again, she usually appears in every story, but somehow she's missing right now. For some reason. I just can't find the courage. Maybe I should come back another day. But what's the point of waiting? I need to apologize and get the weight off his back now. She gathered her courage once more, the time determined she would do it. The white-haired girl moved her small fist toward the door, which then swung open, accidentally nudged into his chest, and then she instantly died. Game over. No. I'm sorry. Please, you must announce your presence. I almost walked right into you. You would literally died right there and then. Are you in that much of a hurry for a mishap? I'm sorry. And I believe I told you to stay away from my chambers. You did, so I spent a long time debating whether I would, but I decided I really wanted to tell you this. Oh, well, actually, I'm truly sorry. What? The other day, I could barely manage to get the words in my head all the way to my mouth. There was no room in my mind for anything else. I shoved my own thoughts and feelings into your face, not considering that might not be what you wanted. Just running non-stop, not thinking at all. I was terribly disrespectful to you, completely selfish. You're a kind-hearted man, I truly believe that, but you're only being courteous because you're a nice man. I'm sure you have little interests, of affections of a queer little girl. So, I would love it if I could stay here. It would be a wonderful blessing, but if you really don't want me here, if my feelings are imposing upon you, then I apologize. I'm sorry, and I'll take my leave of this house. I'm sorry. Don't be. My mind went blank for a moment. What? I find it difficult to comprehend you. You're like a protagonist in like a shoujo anime. The other day, you were firm in your intentions to stay, and now you say you'll leave without a struggle. You hold it up in your room for so long that I thought you didn't want me around. To be honest, I want to stay here, I do. I think you should do whatever pleases you. Huh? You can stay or you can leave. I will not pressure you to do one or the other. So I'm not imposing? To tell you the truth, I had to think about that for some time. However, I have now come to something of a solution. Since you're here, come into my room. What? But I thought I wasn't allowed to. To prevent what almost happened a few moments ago. So we don't accidentally run into each other. Sorry. You're forgiven. Now come in. Okay. Is this a necklace? If that's what it looks like to you, then I suppose that means I succeeded. Pick it up. It has a little bell. It's adorable. Please make an effort to wear that while you're in the house. Because it's so dark, there's always a risk that we might accidentally bump into one another. So I try to come up with a way to reduce that risk. Does that mean you didn't leave your room because you're working on this? That's right. What other reason would I have? I think most people would assume it was because they put you in a bad mood or that you didn't want to see them. I have little sense of how most people see the world. Sorry. I appreciate it though. I'm really glad to know that you put so much thought into a life together with me. It would be difficult not to after the other day. I'm so happy right now. I can't think of any better word to describe it. I couldn't be happier. Well, that's a death flag. Eventually, something bad will happen, as we've seen from the other stories, but anyway. You're being dramatic. To tell you the truth, I feel a little bad about it. Why? It seems rather important to affix a bell to someone. You're not livestock, you're a person. Well, that's why you turn it into a necklace. Thank you very much. I'll keep it on me at all times. I really truly appreciate it, Lord Michel. Don't call me Lord, please. Alright then, I'll just call you Michelle. Hey, will you please call me Giselle? Is it like a J sound or G sound? I'm gonna assume it's Giselle. Giselle, right? Giselle? Giselle? Giselle. I think I remember looking it up last time, but then I forgot, so. The windows. What? If we could open the windows. Never mind. I was just thinking you wouldn't need the bell at all if we could get some light in here. They can't be opened. They're rusted shut. All the windows have been shuttered for as long as I've been here. I assume you have boarded them all up. That was done long before I ever arrived. After so many years here, though, I hardly consider it an inconvenience anymore. It also serves to repel wanderers. Oh, really? Is there something odd about that? No. It's just I realized I had the wrong impression about a number of things. As I learn more, I see things in a different light. See you in a different light. And I'm sure there's still plenty more for me to learn. Of all the people I've ever met, you are perhaps the most difficult to predict. Not only do you have no aversion to the darkness, The dark has always been a close friend of mine, which isn't to say I dislike the sun. Its light can simply be too strong for me. I'm like some kind of unholy monster that can't be exposed to sunlight. You are anything but unholy. My name will suit you much better than me. Is that a compliment, Did he just compliment her? Oh, what was that? No, okay, that was some weird effect there. Hello? What? Why is there squishing sounds? That day when I first saw Giselle, I was aware of her, apprehensive. I didn't want her anywhere near me, but as my doubts about her faded, I began feeling something very different, as though the lump in my heart had been melted away. I began to yearn for her to be at my side, knowing full well it couldn't possibly last, knowing full well how foolish it was. I found myself captivated by her. I found myself wishing to have her stay with me. Okay. Get some interference on my TV. I guess some static. Weird. I don't know what that sound was. Who that shadow was, but I think that shadow was the person we saw before in the bedroom, right? In the mansion, anyway. But I think, or it could be someone. It could be. I don't know. I have no idea. And that marked the true beginning of their quiet days together in the dark mansion. They acknowledged and accepted each other's presence, no longer isolating themselves but actively, regularly conversing. As mundane as it might seem, it was something they had been unable to attain until then. Nevertheless, they were still somewhat fumbling around in the dark with one another, drawing closer and pushing away again. Michel, in his own ungraceful way, was beginning to open himself up to the things she said, and the white-haired girl was beginning to smile with greater frequency. They had taken to dining together, and a wish of learning to read was being granted. He taught her in the feeble light of the candle placed upon the table, the two sitting across from one another. Though Michel seemed to be well educated, he had not been instructed in the art of teaching, so he found the process quite grueling. But to the white-haired girl, the longer it took, the better. Her primary objective was, after all, to spend time with him. The days passed, and eventually she reached the point where her comprehension was adequate enough without assistance. Her next request then was for them to read through a book together. Have you read every book in the library? No, I stopped looking at them after a while. Most everything I'm sent is dull, uninformative, direct. The Diary of a Lord, foolish make-believe tales. You're not fond of fiction, I take it. What value is there in the lies and fantasy of another? Stories can be invigorating. Tales of adventure can take you places you could never go. Legends of heroes, folklore, stories of otherworldly phenomena. They can be terrifying and they can be exhilarating. They may not be real, but they give you a little glimpse into an author's heart. Let you feel like you're seeing the same thing they saw. Like a visual novel, you could say. You are a very empathetic girl. Fiction inspires nothing of the sort in me. However, perhaps long ago, it may have been able to, though I can no longer remember what it feels like. I'm sure I'll come back to you. You're not an empty man. Sorry, I'm making you uncomfortable again. How about we read this book together? Or today, rather. Sometimes I read the words wrong. I just roll with it. It appears to be a collection of legends. You haven't read this one yet, then. That's good to hear. It'll be more enjoyable if it's a new experience for both of us. It looks like it's a record of local legends. The book is divided into several sections, though it appears to be mostly superstitions. I am curious what kind of stories this area has. The two of them were looking down a simple, undecorated volume. As the white-haired girl had said, it seemed to be a collection of local legends passed down generation to generation. They sat across from one another at a table, her turning the pages, and Michelle simply watching so as not to brush against her. Eventually, her eyes were drawn to a particular word on one of the pages, bringing her hands to a stop. The witch. The chapter detailed the story of a witch, or more precisely, said witch's curse. The story went something like this. I wonder if it's relevant. There once was a witch, skilled in the dark arts. She lived in a meager but peaceful life alongside the other villagers. But then, a long drought struck the village, which the people blamed on the witch. The witch was sentenced to death, and a fire blazed around her. Smoke rose high into the air. The smoke soon became rain clouds, blessing the village for an end to the drought. The crops were revitalized, and the villagers fancied themselves heroes. However, the rain also brought madness upon the people. Though the earth below them was lush and fertile, the villagers were losing their minds, and they eventually began to take each other's lives. Yes, this is a very not very nice story. The witch still lived on in the form of a curse. Many fell victim to the witch's curse. Though it did not only take, it also fulfilled people's desires. The villagers had gone mad, but their wish for freedom from the drought had been granted. It's like a monkey's paw, you know? Thus the legend had been passed down as follows. The witch will grant your wish in exchange for great sacrifice. As smoke in the sky, she watches down upon us from above. To reach the witch, climb for the heavens, but know that the road is a road to destruction. Well, it's a very familiar curse. This is what basically happens to all the people in the stories we saw and all the other doors. People still believe the witch's legend even now, I suppose. And that's why I face accusations of being a witch. This is not an area very welcoming to outsiders, especially not one who stands out as much as you. What brought you here to this region in the first place? Mine is a story that I'm sure you've heard before. I was cast out of my house. I come from a very poor family. We could barely even afford to keep everyone fed. Being as weak as I am, it was only natural that I would be the first to go. I see. What I don't understand, though, is why the witch is said to grant people's wishes. That's to say, she had a reason enough to hold a grudge, but not to give people things they ask for. All we have to go on is a few pages. There is no saying what might have been changed or added over time. It's almost certain the entire legend isn't written here. That said, if we are to accept everything as written, you can infer what the witch's reason might have been. That is, if you truly want it that much, you can have it, but I'll make certain your suffering outweighs it. Despair that comes after a moment of happiness is far more agonizing than despair alone. You don't say, Michelle. You don't say. I presume that is why the witch decided to grant people's wishes. That is one way to look at it. May I ask you something? Go on. When I first arrived here, you told me the cursed witch used to live in this mansion. After reading this legend, I'm now finding it hard to believe you made that up simply to scare me away. I appropriated the tale, nothing more. It is said the witch was born in this house. What? Quite the place my family found for me. But it was a clever decision putting me here, I think. Not many people are likely to come near a house with such a pedigree. But... no, never mind. That makes sense. I suspect I know what she was going to say then. If the witch is said to grant wishes, then wouldn't that also attract people who so desperately want something? They do not care what price they must pay? And perhaps she was correct. Perhaps there have been those who had come to the mansion chasing after the legend. And perhaps they encouraged Michelle, touched him, and lost their lives. On that day in the garden he had said, "Many things are buried here." Perhaps that included such visitors. I wonder if that story might have been more than mere superstition. If the witch of legend really did exist, what will you do? It might be nice to talk to her, maybe. That's all? Really? I feel a little bad for her, though. The only people who ever visit her are there to ask her something after all. I can only imagine just how lonely they must be. Brings the question whether or not, it just reminds me of like genies, like hypothetically, if you were to have find a genie, what are the chances that if you wish for something, it'll be again like the monkey's paw, where you get what you want, but not really what you want, right? I wonder how you could counter that, because I've seen it before. I remember looking it up online. There's a whole thread, I guess, of someone actually making a whole wish, like a whole paragraph of how exactly you would say it to a genie if you were happen to come across a genie. Say the exact words in the exact way, just like a legal contract, and then you'll get what you want, I guess. But obviously, it's all hypothetical at the end of the day. I swear, I cannot comprehend the way your mind works. Sorry. I feel like the best way, I don't know. I mean, obviously you can always wish for more wishes. That's always the thing. That's the cheeky answer. What I've always thought, hypothetically, if I could make a wish, how about if I wish I had the same powers as a genie, or like a witch or whatever? How would that work, I wonder? What if you wish for the same powers? Wouldn't that be fun? Like I wouldn't like you would think, you wish for, you wish for immortality, you wish for money, you wish for power and everything, but those are such things that could be simply taken away by that same wish giver, I feel like. What if you yourself became also all-powerful and be able to grant wishes too? Wouldn't that be, the best answer? Maybe not. I don't know. Honestly, immortality will suck. Yeah, I said before. I don't know. Again, I would like immortality. Immortality, come on, give it to me. When do we get to plug our brains into the internet and then, just live as digital beings? And I feel like that's the closest thing we could have, at least in the sci-fi future, I guess. But I don't know. Although, if we assume the legend is true, I have an idea what climb for the heavens might mean. Oh? The mansion has an observation tower. Or I suppose what used to be an observation tower. Oh, that's how we entered this world in the first place. At any rate, it's quite a tall structure. This is the house where the witch was supposedly born. A tower reaching for the heavens seems like the perfect place to find her, if she really is here. Oh yes, I remember seeing a rather tall structure as I first approached the mansion. Would you like to see it? Of course. Please, lead the way. Alright. Milky Hay, you rather have the ability to teleport? Actually, I would be scared to have the ability to teleport. What happens if you teleport into a wall? Wouldn't you just die, I would be scared of having the ability to teleport. You could easily make a mistake and accidentally kill yourself, I feel like. I don't know. The two of them left the library and made their way to the room with the stained glass window. At the far end of that room were the stairs to the observation tower. The tale of the witch had piqued the white-haired girl's interest, inspiring her to put herself forward to satisfy that curiosity. She had, after all, been accused of being a witch herself, so she undoubtedly felt an affinity to the legend. What a sweet girl she was. What do you mean by that, maid? She said what a sweet girl she was? Again, I wonder... I mean, it seems to hint that the maid is the witch, right? She is the witch, maybe. But with Michelle in the lead, the two climbed a long spiral staircase. There are many more stairs than the white-haired girl had anticipated, as she soon found herself short of breath. Rectangular windows were carved out of the stone in regular intervals. Peering through one of them, she could see a village in the distance. A pleasantly cool, high-altitude breeze brushed across her face. After much climbing, they finally arrived at the top, where a door made of partially rotted wood stood. Michelle pulled open the door, revealing a small room with no windows or doors in sight. This is a very familiar background, by the way. But this is the top of the tower? Despite it being called an observation tower, you could hardly observe anything from there. Her face contorted in confusion, the white-haired girl threw her gaze about the room. Glancing up, she only saw a darkened ceiling, and slightly below it a single small window through which shone a little ray of light. The beam cleaved through the darkness like the sharpened blade of a beautiful sword. The darkness draped over the rest of the room only served to make it more oppressive, that solitary ray of light. It had a magical fairy tale quality to it. As if being pulled in by it, she drew toward the light. I suspect there was once a large window in this room. If you look closely, you can see seams in the stone of the wall. The color of the stone differs slightly on either side of the seams. I presume something caused them to seal off the window after it was built, though I don't know what that something might be. No? CG. Oh, and also interesting text. It's different. When Michelle's eyes fell upon the white-haired girl wrapped in that beam of light, he sputtered to a stop. The man, who never flinched at anything, but long since distanced himself from such stirrings of the heart, was utterly bewitched. As usual. I think her hair grew out a little bit as well, I think. He had never seen her illuminated so vividly before, and he was having a great deal of trouble finding the words to describe her striking beauty. Isn't she a teenager, by the way? I don't know, how old is Michelle? Anyway, for someone who had been chased out of her home and accused of her being a witch, the white-haired girl looked less like a practitioner of dark arts, and more like one of the hosts of heaven. Michelle undoubtedly felt the same way, for his gaze was affixed firmly upon her. Smile. Dazzling, isn't it? Like a staircase leading to heaven. Yes, perhaps so. Is something the matter? No, I'm fine. You know, it feels like there's something odd in the air here. It feels like someone actually might be listening. If the witch were to speak to you, what would you say to her? I would ask her to tell me her true feelings, to tell me what kind of person she was, and what kind of pain she had to endure. I just want to know what she felt, this woman people branded a witch. The legend was written from a neutral perspective. It's possible she was a fearsome witch. It's also possible she wasn't. I get the feeling she was just persecuted, like me and you. Unlike you, I truly am impure. Disagree all you want, but my touch kills. I'm a strange, incomprehensible, irrational creature. Or maybe I'm not even a living being, and that's why when I touch something, I bring them death. If only I actually were a witch. If only I actually had some kind of extraordinary power, regardless of whether it came from God or the devil, then I would be able to grant people's wishes. My wish need not be granted. But it's what I want too. I wish to be able to touch you. And then go around you and do a suplex, no? I will be perfectly content with nothing changing, with us never being able to touch one another. I would be more than happy with that. But I'm allowed to dream, aren't I? It doesn't have to be this in this life. Or it doesn't have to be in this life. I pray the day will come that we can get closer, even if it has to happen in another life. Happiness is very much a stranger to me, but am I allowed to dream too? You are. I will never touch you, I swear it. But I would like to dream about it. I would like to imagine placing my hand upon your cheek. You can. Reach your hand out for me. I will imagine it too. It's very close though. It's like you guys like to live dangerously, I guess. I'm imagining your fingers running through my hair, brushing up against my skin. I can feel your warmth. And then whoops! And then they trip, and then bleh, dead. No, there was a wall between them, a wall they could not cross. For if they did, it would mean the white-haired girl's death. No matter how much they yearned for it, they could not touch one another, so they did so within the confines of their imagination, envisioning it in as much detail as they could imagine. It was sad, but sweet, a moment of pristine, untainted beauty. The two of them emanated serenity. As fitting as the word cursed might have been to the mansion as a whole, at the top of the observation tower, a pure bond was being shared. A fleeting moment between a young man with a cursed touch and a kind-hearted, beautiful girl. The dream did not last long, no, for God is quite cruel. They simply wanted to be together, that was all. Their wish was hardly unreasonable, only a quiet, peaceful life together. But misfortune was creeping ever nearer, its footsteps growing more and more pronounced. Well, alright. Is someone at the door? Is there another delivery? The flow of time was hazy within the mansion's walls. They had little way of telling whether it was night or day, preventing them from knowing exactly how much time had passed. The white-haired girl had a habit of climbing the observation tower every so often to see whether the sun was up, which allowed her to approximate the time of day. Consequently, when she heard a knock on the door, she was not aware just how deep the night was outside. The forest and beasts alike lay quietly at rest. Oh right, the stores in the cellar are almost exhausted. It must be this month's delivery. Not thinking it was worth bothering Michelle over, she made her way out of her chambers and headed for the entrance. Bad idea, bad idea, bad idea. It's a bad idea, it's a bad idea. Yeah, it's a bad idea. It's totally not the delivery, it's probably someone else. There had only been a single knock, leading her to conclude that, as before, the servant had simply left the box outside the door. So without a second thought, she opened the door. And there she saw a strange, vagrant man standing in the moonlight. His clothes were tattered, his bearded face bony and emaciated. She gasped, shrinking back several paces. The heavy door began to swing shut, but the man forced it open, glaring down at her with unfocused eyes and mumbling, "Are you the witch that grant people's wishes?" It was in that moment the white-haired girl realized she had been careless. The man had sought out the mansion because he believed the legend of the witch, and he did not seem particularly right of mind either, perhaps a result of wandering through the forest for several days, or perhaps it was because he was so beaten down that he thought to ask for the witch's help. In a word, he seemed mad. "No, there's no witch here." "Sure there is. Don't you lie to me. I can hear the witch's voice. She led me to this house." "I promise you there isn't. Now please, be on your way." "I've any idea how long it took to find this place? How many days have gone without food or water? You're telling me to get lost?" "I don't know what you want from me. I'm happy to give you a little food, so please." "Is there really no witch?" "There's no witch here. It's nothing but a legend. If she does exist, she doesn't live here." "I see. That means you're just an ordinary person." "Just a person. Just a girl. Is there anything you can do?" "Yo, get away from me. What are you doing?" "I wish I'd wait for you to get a little grub when I could just take it all. I'm starving here. I'm so hungry I could eat human." "You're about to commit a grievous sin. You're not ashamed to act in defiance of God?" "God? If I believed in God, would I come begging to a witch? I don't fear him. I sure as hell don't fear people. I was gonna show up at a road in the middle of nowhere. Who's gonna call me out? Who's gonna stop me? No one, that's who. No one's gonna stop me. No one's gonna offer me salvation." Ah, there's the thought. You're a woman. So will I kill you? Oh. What are you doing? What? There's other people here. The white-haired girl lay pinned in the floor beneath the yelling bandit, pleading for help with ruby eyes. As soon as Michelle grasped the situation, he tossed his candlestick aside and left for the man. Ugh. The candlestick gave a sharp clang when it hit the floor. The impact extinguished the flame, bringing the mansion to near-perfect darkness. Uh-oh. Because he can't see anything, so something glittered in the bandit's hand, then, without hesitation, he thrust it at Michelle. Ugh. Michelle! How stupid must she be to come at me unarmed? In his hand, the man held a knife, its tip dripping in Michelle's blood. Red spilled from the gash in his arm, the flow growing heavier with each passing moment. You're the only other person here by the looks of it, eh? Perfect. I'll take you both out. You. What? You don't appear to know whose house you're trying to break into. What are you on about? Regret your ignorance to your very last breath. You're a mess up in the air, you madman. I think you're projecting, Mr. Bandit. Yeah, stay the hell back. Take one more step. The handle. I inherited the witch's curse. Let go! Michelle clutched the man's face into one hand. The man raised his knife to strike back, but... What's happening? The strength drained from his fingers, the knife falling to the floor. The man writhed in Michelle's grip. Me face! My face! I can't breathe! Leave this place immediately, though you won't get far afflicted with my curse. No! Yeah, the hand kind of reminds me of Fate Stay Night, actually. There's like I guess a character in that series where it's like, you know, literally called Zahando. It's like an attack. Anyway, helpless to fight back, nay helpless to even consider fighting back, the bandit fled for the mansion in terror. Well, I guess it kind of worked out. He got stabbed though. You have any medicine in this mansion? In his wake, only the white-haired girl and a bleeding Michelle remained. I just saw a man's life drained from him, his face withering away, sucked completely dry. I didn't doubt him, but dear God, that was quite disturbing for you, I'm sure. No, not at all. It's my fault anyway, if I had been so careless. Oh, your arm. We didn't get that wrapped up. Please, do not touch me. You mustn't touch me. The wound is hardly fatal. It's not my fault. I'm so sorry. No. A degree of blame falls on me for saying nothing. Next time someone comes to the door, let me know. I'm sorry. Please, you do not need to apologize. Well... Yes? For once, I'm actually proud of myself. Proud that I could use this terrible ability of mine to do something more than just take a life. To protect someone I care about. Well... So like I said, please don't apologize. Alright, thank you. Michelle, I'm glad you're here. I care about you too. Thank you. Okay, worked out. Yeah, I was thinking, I guess it's too soon, but I was kind of thinking that, well, let's see actually. I was thinking he would accidentally touch her somehow because the candle was out, but had the flame of Michelle's candle not gone out when he threw it into the floor, he would have seen a heartfelt smile on the white-haired girl's face, as she would have seen a flush of red and awkward smile on Michelle's normally blank face. Okay, I was gonna say, it's like, oh, you know, it's like, had the flame not went on the candlelight, he would have seen her, or he would have seen her over him, and he would have accidentally bumped into her, and then she dies somehow. That was what I was thinking was gonna happen, but I guess not. It was just, you know, it's fine. Don't worry about it. They're gonna end up, she's gonna end up being killed later. Don't worry about it. He also might have seen a little glimmer on her cheek, where a few drops of his blood had landed. Wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. Chotomate. But alas, they had no light. Uh-oh. Wait a minute. He did say his blood was part of his curse, right? So a bit of his blood did land on her, I think, is what that means. The collapse of their happiness came slowly, gradually. Perhaps it was because she had touched his blood instead of his skin, but the deterioration of the white-haired girl's health crept along at a relaxed pace. The life was not sucked out of her in a blink of an eye, as it had been from the bandit. She merely grew progressively less and less healthy. Amidst her physical decay, she would have styled one more blessing. Her beauty remained untouched. But as far as blessings went, surely there were others she could have been granted. Could God have not picked something a little better for her? By the time the two of them realized what was happening, it was already too late. The white-haired girl had grown so weak she could hardly leave her bed. Yes. Oh, you are there. I am. Thank goodness. I can't see very well anymore. How could this happen? I thought I had saved you, but no, I did the exact opposite. Please, don't talk that way. You did save me that day. But you're on the cups of death now. It's my fault, because of this curse I bear. How? How could this happen? Why did this have to happen? What am I? Why was I given this body? Michelle, can I, ask you a favor? Go ahead. Stay with me, please. As much as you can, until the very end. I was going to do as much anyway. Thank you. I'm happy, Michelle. Happier than I have ever been. And I mean that. You didn't just save my life. You saved me. I've been saved. But only me. I wonder how I'll handle things when I'm gone. If only I hadn't opened the door that day, I wouldn't be leaving him all alone. And we could be happy together for even longer. Yes? Would you please hold my hand? I think it's probably safe now. I will not. I cannot touch you. If I do, I might take what remains of your life. Take your beauty away and force you to die hideous. I cannot touch you. Stop doing that, game. I know it's a horror game. So far, it didn't have a lot of jump scares, but when they do that, it kind of jump scares me when they do that weird static thing. Aon here, it her? I don't know what that means. On his way back from the washroom several days later, Michelle heard muffled voices. Got it? Good. He was having trouble making out what they were saying, but he could tell it was several men, and they were outside the front door. The fact that he could hear them at all through the heavy door meant they were probably shouting quite loudly. An undescribable sense of uneasiness came over him. Dread. He drew nearer to the door and focused on the voices on the other side. They grew clearer enough for him to make out what the men were saying. Everything's in place. We're ready to kill this witch now. This is definitely the place. I'd have that Bennett said she was in this mansion. Listen, Noel, no matter what we find there, we kill it. You can be a child for all I like here. That doesn't change anything. Kill the witch. Kill the witch, kill the witch, kill the witch. What he heard beyond the door was a group of men shouting for the death of the witch. Well, that sucks. And that's inconvenient. I mean, she's gonna die anyway. But, this just makes it kind of even worse, I guess. He should have finished the job, I guess he should have held on to the bandit even longer instead of hesitating. Because as it turns out, the bandit isn't dead. He was just half dead. I guess people don't die when they are killed. Emi Oshiro would have an aneurysm. In that moment, Michelle regretted his decision to let the bandit go free and not watch over him until the moment of his demise. He must have made his way down to the village in search for help, where he revealed what he found at the mansion. Damn it. But it was too late. Regret would solve nothing. He could neither stop the villagers from raiding the house, nor could he stop the white-haired girl from dying to the effects of his curse. He was helpless to do anything. The gears of his fate had locked him into a path of tragedy, and was turning mercilessly onward. The men had begun trying to break down the door, what sounded like a battering ram. While the first strike was not enough to breach the barrier, it was still quite powerful. He was certain it would not hold for long. Michelle's mind raced. Was there anything he could do about his predicament? How could he escape from the corner he had been backed into? Despite his possessing inhumane powers, he would be powerless against a full mob of adult men. The villagers almost certainly came armed as well. Michelle. A weak voice came from behind him. Aghast, he spun around to find the white-haired girl stumbling toward him. She breathed heavily, leaning against the columns for support. What are you doing out here? You've only worsened your condition by exerting yourself. I had a sinking feeling. I heard noises on my way here. It seems that I have brought all my misfortune upon you. Don't say that. If I hadn't come here, this never would have happened. That tends to be also a theme for the white-haired girl, or at least for Giselle, I guess, every time she shows up in this house. You never would have been in any danger. Please, Michelle, hand me over to the men outside. Absolutely not. I would do no such thing. They're here for the witch, aren't they? I'm guessing they're the same people who were chasing me before. The village had a poor harvest this year, I hear. Like the village in the legend. And they believe it's the witch's curse. But you're not the witch! They need someone to fill the role, though. So please, hand me over. And then escape on your own. I could never. Please, Michelle. I'm the one who's cursed, not you. You want me to hand you over? What would I have left then? Nothing. Not a thing. I would have nothing. After so long, I finally found someone who isn't afraid of me, who won't run. I have no interest in a world that would take you away from me, make me live alone once more. The hell with such a world. Michelle. Would you be willing to die with me? If that's what you wish, then stay with me until the very end. Now this is kind of like this is more like Romeo and Juliet, actually. You know how in the very beginning the first story was kind of like, you know, hinting towards that. This is more like Romeo and Juliet, at least the way they died anyway. You know. But again, well, I'm trying to think. The ending of Romeo and Juliet, well, they did die together, but you know, it was sort of a misunderstanding actually, because I believe like Romeo, like who's trying to like fake his death, and then he killed himself. And then Juliet thought he died, so she killed herself too, and then he woke up, was like, oh no, Juliet's dead, I guess I'll kill myself too, you know? I think that's how it works. So maybe not actually Romeo and Juliet, but, you know, it's a classic trope where they, I guess two lovers just end up being dead, I guess, or going to die together. I probably want to hear that just as much as him. No, not probably, I did. I wanted to have someone at my side as much as him. It's so lonely not having anyone. To live alone, to die alone, to not have anyone watching over you, for no one to even know you're dead. I simply wanted someone to tell me they're here for me, to be there to hold my hand. How wonderful that would be. The sense of utter relief it would bring would be enough to cast away all the pain, to allow me to accept all their suffering. So please, tell me you'll... Michelle and the white-haired girl chose to spend their final moments at the top of the observation tower. They could hear the crash of the battery ram against the door, the shouts of the men, and their stomping feet. Despite all that, the ray of the light shining through the window was beautiful as always. The room's air of serenity remained unimpeached. After the long climb to the top, the white-haired girl was terribly out of breath. Michelle considered several times offering her his hand, but the possibility of that doing so might rob her of her last scrap's life stayed his hand. It sounds like they broke down the door. I'm glad we made it up here when we did. I'm so sorry for asking you this of you. Don't be. I would have chosen here for my final moments as well. I can't speak. Don't be. I would have chosen here for my final moments as well. This is the one place in this mansion with any sunlight. One place I can get a good look at you. Thank you. I'm truly glad I was able to end up here. That I was able to meet you, and more than anything that you said that you cared about to me. Have I managed to become an essential part of your life? Do you even need to ask? I wouldn't be here otherwise. I feel the same way as you. I'm sure of it. The two of us are more similar than you probably care to admit. Can I ask you one more thing? Go on. Would you embrace me? If this is to be the end, if this is to be my last chance, then I don't want it to end without being able to touch you. Please don't refuse me this, Michelle. Just do it, please. I won't keep you waiting long. Thank you. The truth is, I always wanted this. I dreamed of being able to hold you. I dreamed of it too. Thank you. I'm so very... she's still so beautiful. What a cruel joke. Could she not have given us some other miracle? One that would allow us both to survive.
Where are you? Where'd you get off to? I can't find her, damn it. Hey, there's some stairs over there. Hey, lead up.
Beneath the single ray of light, the white-haired girl lay completely still. Not even a frail sigh escaped her closed lips. She remained as gorgeous as ever. It was as though she had simply fallen asleep in the sunlight. Looking down upon her, Michelle determined to do one thing. I would not allow anyone to sully the sight. He gave a fleeting glance back at her pristine corpse, then opened the door and stepped through it alone. He would protect that room where she lay.
Hey, there's someone up there. So this is where you've been hiding, you infernal witch? Wait, that's not the girl.
The raucous sound of the footsteps rang out from below. Shortly thereafter, the men themselves came into view. As he had expected, they were heavily armed. He glowered at the men, then sucked in a deep breath and shouted at the top of his lungs.
I am the witch you seek. I've inherited her curse. It is I who brings calamity upon you. You hear that? But he's a man or woman, it doesn't matter, you know? Don't be sexist. Anyone could be a witch. Death to anyone who ties the witch. Cleanses her from all impurity. Kill him! Kill him!
Michelle did not flinch at the sight of the men. He stood unyielding between them and the door. He did not flinch when they raised their weapons against him, nor when they pierced his body.
Die! Take your curse with you! I have no need for this life any longer. It's all yours. I am cursed to kill even that which I can't speak because I'm being stabbed to death, to even kill which I wish to protect. But at the very least, I can protect the one thing before my life is done. Not even one of you will leave this place, wither, and die by my curse.
The blood spilling from his skewered bodies flowed down the stairs, down and down like a little river, soaking the feet of every single man who had stormed the mansion. This was the last thing he saw before the final grains of life slipped between his fingers, which brought a faint smile to his lips. Okay. I mean, yeah, that works. I was gonna say, like, how is he gonna, like, kill everyone? He can't touch everyone because everyone's just gonna stab him, but I guess his blood can touch everyone and then they'll die. Oh, by the way, she woke up. Neither of them had expected what happened next, though, for God has a most twisted sense of humor. The white-haired girl had not miraculously passed away without being robbed of her beauty. Why am I still alive? She had rather not passed away at all. Well, I mean, I kind of expected this, sort of. You know, I was thinking she would, like, it would be a while until she woke up again. But yeah, it is true. It is, I mean, yeah, she is immortal, it seems. As we've seen her in other eras, she always comes back. So, she must have been, in some way, unable to die. However, you know, didn't turn out... No, she died in a very inconvenient time, however. So, quite cruel of him, was it not? Michelle? Where have you gone, Michelle? Michelle? I smell blood. For had he allowed her to die, she would not have been made to witness a scene that awaited her. No. And I'm sure you know just what it was she laid her eyes upon in that moment. The ravaged corpse of her beloved, a torrent of blood streaming down the spiral staircase, and the sickening stench it raised. No. Why? And his was not the only body. The villagers who assaulted the mansion had been subjected to his curse, the life drained from their withered shells. Why did this... Michelle, why? Why am I the only one still alive? That is a question I cannot answer either. Perhaps his curse did not affect those he loved. Terribly cruel as that might be, I cannot say. Okay, maybe not. I was thinking like maybe she was like immortal, but maybe that's a possibility as well. Maybe it just didn't affect her. That's all it was. No, she just took a nap. It just so happened that she just had a cold, and it wasn't the curse. And then she feels better after a quick nap. That's all it was. Whoops. Why? You said we would go together. A world without you has no meaning. As she actually expended her life there in the room at the top of the tower, perhaps this tale could have had a happy ending. She would have at least been able to have the man she loved at her side until her very last moments upon this earth. But that's not what had transpired. She has survived, been left utterly alone. I felt a profound pity for this miserable girl, so I called out to her. The witch Morgana, eh? Would you like to see him once more? What? Morgana's the witch. It's the name of the game, by the way. I have the power to help you meet him again. Who's there? Where are you? You know what they call this mansion. So, who do you suppose remains on these grounds? No way. You're from the legend. You actually exist. Now, I asked you a simple question. Would you like to see him again? The witch grants people's wishes, but at a price. I said I wouldn't ask for assistance if I met her, but that's all changed. Now that I've lost him. If it's truly possible, then yes, I want to see him. Bring him back to life. Regrettably, I cannot directly meddle with the forces of life and death. However, I can guarantee you this. Your reconstruction. Reconstruction? Correct. To ensure that you remain as yourself in future lives, and are not reborn as someone else, your mind and body shall be reconstructed, as shall his. If you sincerely wish to reunite with one another, if you genuinely need each other in your lives, you will eventually meet again. All I can promise you is eternal reconstruction. What you make of it is up to you. Okay, so it's not like true immortality, it's more so she gets reincarnated as the same person every time. That's what it is. You want to see him again, don't you? You want to hear his voice again, don't you? You want to feel his hand on your cheek once more, don't you? If that's what you want, then you must remain who you are. If you're simply reborn, that wouldn't be you. So there wouldn't be any point, would there? Me as I am, and he as he is. Make up your mind quickly. I will not wait long. I want to see him again. As you wish, sweet little girl. I shall grant you both eternal reconstruction, and pray with all my heart that you can attain true happiness. Shortly thereafter, the white-haired girl took her own life. She decided she had nothing to gain by remaining in the present time, that in order to reunite with Michelle, she needed to make her way to her next life. And thus the mansion was left bereft of a master to travel slowly through the ages until someone came along to give it life once more. By the way, I'm giving the same voice as the maid for the witch because I mean, come on, it's totally the witch, right? I could be wrong though, but I'm totally thinking that it's the same person. But that explains why she always comes back in the same way though. Again, she's not immortal. She can die, it's just that, she comes back to life in a different time as herself. She seems to lose her memories though, so that's what happens, I guess. But an unfathomable amount of time has passed, and the two have yet still to reunite. Have they, Master? Or have they, Master? You know now who you are, do you not? You remember everything now, do you not? You are present in every single era, the reason for which is as I described in the previous tale, because you yearn to be reunited with someone. But that person never showed up in any era, and poor sweet you, having no memory of any of that, lived those lives with other men, Does it count as cheating? As I said before. Is it any surprise misfortune befell those arrows then? The door swung closed. But rather than outside, you and the maid were inside the dull, monochrome room at the top of the observation tower. The awe-inspiring ray of light shone not through the lone window high upon the stone wall. Wrapped in the curious, impenetrable darkness, you both stood alone in the room. The maid wore a gentle but brutally cold smile as she looked straight at you. Is it not your fault misfortune befell you? It is not, or rather, it is not your fault misfortune befell you. The only force to blame for that is fate. You are always so kind, so pure of heart. You had boundless trust for others and the goodness of people. You are the very image of all that is right. There is no greater misfortune than someone as pure and beautiful as you, being mercilessly thrown into the grinding gears of tragedy again and again. I still pity you for everything you had to go through. You poor, poor soul. You must be utterly exhausted, constantly betrayed, the man you were waiting for never appearing. After so long, your spirit worn down to the bone, you lost any of all awareness of who you even were. Who were you hoping to find wandering into this illusionary mansion, cut off from the real world? You and I are the only ones here. The man you seek is nowhere to be found. Have you still not figured it out? Then allow me to tell you everything. I am the cursed witch, Morgana, who haunts this mansion, and you are the tragic plaything of fate, the white-haired girl named Giselle. Alright. I knew it. Maybe not from the very beginning, obviously, but, I had my sneaking suspicions that we were the white-haired girl this entire time. Did my calling you master confuse you? If so, then I apologize. My habit of calling the master or mistress of the house master is quite deeply ingrained. Okay. And yes, that means precisely what you think it does. That I have accepted you as my new master. That I wish for you to remain here, to stay with me. So let us put an end to this journey. Do not worry, there's nothing to fear. We're simply going to step outside the river time. Nothing unpleasant will ever happen to you ever again. I will be here with you for all eternity, and will give you my utmost care. You will not have to wait for anyone. Forget about him, the man you once sought, and I'm sure you shall find happiness. And then, the Yuri route? Is this the Yuri route? Do we just hang out with the maid instead? She is pretty creepy, but please do it for me. I have been waiting for you for so very long. I've wanted nothing more than to see you again. But you were continually stolen away from me, despite my sincerest desire to spend my days with you. Which is why I wanted you to recall everything. For surely, you will not willingly repeat the same fate, if you knew of all the pain it has caused you to suffer thus far. Spend eternity with me, in the gentle embrace of darkness. The maid extended her hand for you. Her fingers, brushing up against yours, were as cold as ever. But her breath tickled your skin pleasantly, and her sweet words rang in your ears, filling you with warmth. You thought back on your time with her in the mansion. She had indeed always treated you with great compassion, and nothing she had said seemed to be a lie. And so you pondered, what were you to do? Is it a choice? Or there's 3 options actually. Let's save here. And let's give it some thought. Let's think about what we shall do for next time. On YouTube, this will be a cliffhanger. Sorry. But